Okay, so this is the second part in a series of about 7 on the millennial views. What I'm addressing today is what I call Advent mania or millennial madness. It's gotten so crazy that people have left a pursuit of a relationship with Jesus to pursue this form of almost Christian entertainment. That's why I call it millennial madness and Advent mania. So where this pretty much started, there have been false prophets and predictions, prognosticators throughout time, but the 1800s saw this huge increase in these type of prognosticators. I'm just going to go through a few of them. In the early time of Joseph Smith, actually was one of them, but in Joseph Smith's time I would say in the late 30s, William Miller, who spawned Seventh-day Adventism, made this prediction of the Lord's return and Armageddon and these things, and it was supposed to happen in, I believe, October of 1843 or 44. It didn't happen and was coined the Great Disappointment. And Miller was just one of many people who predicted dates. Joseph Smith did so. Joseph Smith being, of course, the false prophet that founded the Mormons. We call him a false prophet because being a prognosticator and predicting the end of the world, in Doctrines and Covenants 87, and then when it doesn't happen, of course, the false prognosticator is then tagged with the label of false prophet. Charles Russell came up in the late 1800s, and he was infatuated with the Lord's return. Set dates 1914. He was the founder of Jehovah's Witnesses. He had this date 1914 was supposed to be the return of Jesus, and that didn't happen. In 1918, World War I was supposed to be Armageddon, and that didn't happen. And then he died, and the guy that took over, Joseph Rutherford, he predicted the end of the world. Millions now living will never die, and they just can't get over this false prophecy. He predicted the end of the world in 1925. That didn't happen. And again, and they predicted it in 1975, and then they predicted it in 1980 and 1985. They had all these predictions, and every one of them was false, didn't come true. William Branham, another guy, set dates, didn't happen. Hal Lindsey, we give him a pass because he's an evangelical, but the late great planet Earth, he predicted the end of the world. Chuck Smith, search the writings. It's there. It's in all of these. Hal Lindsey, Edgar Whisenant, 1988. He wrote a book called 88 Reasons for the Rapture in 1988. And when it didn't happen, he wrote a book, 89 Reasons for the Lord's Return in 89. That didn't happen either. Harold Camping is a gentleman I spoke with and told him that if he understood 2 Thessalonians 2, him and none of these other prognosticators would have ever set a date, because 2 Thessalonians 2 says certain things have to happen before the Lord's return. Harold Camping agreed to look at the scriptures with me, and then had a stroke just 3 days before that, and then eventually put out his date of October 21st, 2011. That didn't happen, and then Harold Camping died shortly after that. Sad story. And on and on. There's been books, Oil Armageddon in the Middle East, the Mayan calendar, remember that, 2012. Now it's the blood moons. The blood moons are the infatuation. All these dates are associated with them. Rosh Hashanah is still thrown in there. That was Edgar Whisenant's thing, and so on. This millennial madness and all these false prognostications have come about because of, in my opinion, all started by the same time that John Nelson Darby introduced dispensational premillennialism. And I'll show in a few parts that this is the case. This teaching spawned many of these false prophecies.